I should have known something was wrong when Veronica started doing her makeup at midnight. Not for me, obviously. We hadn't touched each other in months. But there she was, 3 nights running, applying mascara like she was heading to a photo shoot instead of bed. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Going somewhere special? I asked from our bedroom doorway, watching her perfect her winged eyeliner in our bathroom mirror. Just touching up before bed, Ben, she replied without looking at me. Some of us care about our appearance. Right, because nothing says bedtime routine like contouring your cheekbones. My name is Benjamin Carter, and I'm a financial analyst, which according to my wife's social circle, makes me about as exciting as watching paint dry on a spreadsheet. 42 years old, receding hairline, what Veronica's friends generously call a dad bod, though we don't have kids. Never got around to it, apparently. Too busy with Veronica's interior design career and her endless social obligations. The signs had been building for months. Late nights at the studio, new clothes I'd never seen before appearing in her closet, phone calls that ended abruptly when I walked into the room, and then there were her friends, Chelsea, Madison, and the rest of her designer-clad posse, who'd gone from tolerating me to openly smirking whenever I was around. Ben's still doing those boring spreadsheets, right? I'd overheard Chelsea say at our last dinner party. God, Veronica, you could do so much better. You're like a 10 married to a 4. Charming. Really made a guy feel welcomed in his own home. But the real kicker came on a Tuesday morning when I was using Veronica's laptop to check my email, mine was updating, and accidentally clicked on her browser history. That's when I found it. A secret Instagram account called V Uncaged. The bio read, unattached and seeking fun, living my best life, DM me. Unattached. My wife of 8 years was advertising herself as single on social media, complete with thirst trap photos I'd never seen her take, pictures of her in lingerie I didn't recognize, posed in locations I'd never been to, with captions like, finally free to be me, and no more settling for less. In the background of several photos, I noticed the same details. A distinctive Rolex watch on a man's wrist, the interior of a silver Porsche, a reflection in a wine glass of someone who definitely wasn't me. Someone younger, more muscular, with a kind of jawline that belonged in cologne ads. I knew exactly who it was. Liam Drake, real estate developer, gym enthusiast, and the kind of guy who wore sunglasses indoors and called everyone bro. He'd been sniffing around Veronica's design events for months, always ready with compliments about her creative vision and sophisticated taste. Instead of confronting her like any normal husband would, I did something that surprised even me. I created my own Instagram account, Ben Revamped. My first post was a picture of me at our kitchen table with a perfectly grilled steak and a glass of expensive whiskey. Caption, finally got my freedom and learned to cook for one. Turns out I'm pretty good company. Within hours, it had 30 likes, mostly from people in Veronica's social circle. By the end of the week, I was posting pictures of myself at art galleries, wine tastings, and upscale restaurants. All places I'd always wanted to go, but Veronica had deemed not her scene. The captions wrote themselves, discovered I actually love modern art when I don't have someone telling me it's stupid. Funny how much more I enjoy social events when I'm not being criticized every 5 minutes. Single life update. My bank account is looking healthier already. The response was immediate and intoxicating. Comments poured in from people I'd known for years, but who'd barely acknowledged me when I was attached to Veronica. Suddenly, I was interesting. I was desirable. I was, apparently, having a glow-up. But the best part was watching Veronica's reaction. She started checking her phone obsessively, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the screen with increasing agitation. Ben, she said one morning over coffee, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. Chelsea showed me your Instagram. What the hell do you think you're doing? I looked up from my newspaper. Yes, I still read actual newspapers. Another thing she'd mocked. And smiled. Living my best life, honey. Isn't that what you're always talking about? Her face went pale under her foundation. You're embarrassing me. My friends are asking questions. What kind of questions? They want to know if we're separated. If we're getting divorced? They're saying you look happier in your posts than you ever did in our photos together. I folded my newspaper carefully and stood up. Maybe that's because I am happier. Funny how that works. That's when Chelsea called. I could hear her voice through Veronica's phone from across the kitchen. V, honey, we need to talk. Are you and Ben okay? Because he's posting like he's single, and you've been posting like you're single, and people are starting to connect the dots. Veronica's world was beginning to unravel, and I hadn't even gotten started yet. The gym locker room at Elite Fitness wasn't where I'd planned to gather my smoking gun, but life has a way of delivering evidence when you least expect it. I was changing after my workout, another new habit that was paying dividends in both my physical appearance and my Instagram engagement, when I heard a familiar voice from around the corner. "Dude, you should see this married chick I've been nailing," Liam Drake's voice carried over the lockers. Interior designer, total MILF, wild in bed. Husband's some boring accountant type who doesn't appreciate what he's got. I forced myself to stay quiet and listen. "She's got this secret Instagram where she posts these hot photos," Liam continued, calls herself V Uncaged, says she's done settling for mediocrity. "I'm thinking about taking her to Cabo next month, really show her what she's been missing." I pulled out my phone and hit record, my hands surprisingly steady despite the rage building in my chest. "What about the husband?" another voice asked. "What about him? Guy's a total beta. Probably doesn't even know what's happening. She says he's too busy with his spreadsheets to notice she's not coming home until 3 in the morning." Liam's laugh was the kind of sound that made you want to punch something. "Besides, she's already posting like she's single. It's only a matter of time before she makes it official. I'm just helping speed up the process." I had everything I needed, but instead of confronting him, I finished changing and left quietly. I had bigger plans. That evening, I uploaded a new post to Ben Revamped, a photo of me at Salvatore's, the most expensive Italian restaurant in the city, with the caption, "Treating myself to the good life. Amazing what you can afford when you're not supporting someone else's shopping addiction." The post exploded. Within an hour, I had 50 comments and twice as many likes. But more importantly, I could hear Veronica in the next room, frantically calling her friends. "Madison, have you seen Ben's latest post? He's at Salvatore's, alone, looking good." Her voice cracked on the last word. "People are asking me why my husband is posting like he's single while I'm... She couldn't finish the sentence. "How do you explain that you're also posting like you're single while still married?" The next morning, Chelsea showed up at our house unannounced. I answered the door in my new fitted jeans and button-down shirt, another upgrade that was getting attention. "Ben, we need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the living room. "About what?" "About whatever game you're playing. Veronica is losing her mind." I sat down across from her and smiled. "I'm not playing any games, Chelsea. I'm just living authentically. Isn't that what you're always preaching about? Being true to yourself?" Chelsea's perfectly Botoxed forehead tried to furrow. "This isn't like you. Maybe the old me. The me who let himself be treated like a doormat. But I'm discovering who I really am when I'm not being constantly criticized and ignored." "Veronica loves you." "Does she?" I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot of the V Uncaged Instagram. "Because this suggests otherwise." Chelsea's mouth fell open. "Where did you get this?" "Same place everyone else did. The internet. It's amazing what people post when they think no one's paying attention." She was going through something, a midlife crisis or whatever. It doesn't mean anything, doesn't it? I stood up and walked to the window. "Tell me, Chelsea, how long have you known about Liam?" The silence behind me was answer enough. "That's what I thought." I turned back to face her. "See, here's the thing about living authentically. It means being honest about everything, including the company you keep and the friends who enable your worst behavior." Chelsea left without another word, but I knew she'd run straight to Veronica, which was exactly what I wanted. That afternoon, I got a text from Sid, my coworker, and one of the few genuine friends I had left. "Dude, your wife just lost the Morrison account. Word is getting around about her Instagram. Clients don't want to work with someone who's advertising herself as unattached while married. Bad for their family-friendly brand image?" I felt a flicker of something that might have been guilt, but it passed quickly. Veronica had made her choices. I was just making sure there were consequences. My next post was a photo of me at the farmer's market, arms full of fresh vegetables with the caption, "Learning to shop for one." Turns out I actually enjoy cooking when I'm not being told everything I make is wrong. Who knew? The comments were brutal for Veronica. "Where's your wife, Ben? You look so much happier lately." Single life suits you. But the best comment came from an unexpected source. Madison, one of Veronica's closest friends, wrote, "Looking good, Ben. Some people don't know what they have until it's gone." When Veronica saw that comment, she threw her phone across the room so hard it cracked the screen. "Madison?" she screamed into the broken device. "You're supposed to be my friend." But her friends were already jumping ship. In their social circle, being associated with drama was social suicide, and Veronica had become radioactive. That night, she confronted me in our bedroom, tears streaming down her face, mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. "Please," she begged, "take down the posts, delete the account. We can work this out." I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in months. Even crying, even desperate, she was beautiful. For a moment, I almost wavered. Then I remembered Liam's voice in the locker room, talking about my wife like she was a conquest, talking about me like I was nothing. "No," I said quietly. "I don't think we can." The divorce lawyer's office smelled like leather and disappointment. Janet Morrison, Esquire, was the kind of woman who looked like she could tear apart a marriage settlement with her bare hands and still make it home in time for dinner with her own family. "Mr. Carter," she said, reviewing the documents I'd brought, "this is quite comprehensive. Screenshots of the Instagram account, audio recordings, financial records showing unexplained expenses. You've been thorough." "I'm an analyst," I replied. "Being thorough is what I do." Veronica sat across the conference table with her own lawyer, a nervous-looking man named Peterson who kept adjusting his tie. She'd aged 5 years in the past month. The stress was showing in the lines around her eyes, the way her designer clothes hung a little looser, the tremor in her hands when she thought no one was looking. "Mrs. Carter," Janet continued, "your husband is filing for divorce on the grounds of adultery and abandonment. He has substantial evidence to support these claims." "Are you prepared to contest them?" Veronica's lawyer whispered something in her ear. She shook her head violently. "I want to work this out," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ben, please. We can go to counseling. I'll delete the Instagram. I'll end it." "With Liam?" I asked. "You can say his name, Veronica. We all know who he is." Her face crumpled. "It was a mistake. A stupid, stupid mistake. I was feeling old, invisible. You were always working, always tired. He made me feel young again." "So you decided to advertise yourself as single and sleep with him in our bed? How did you—" "The sheets, Veronica. You changed them every time, but you forgot to change the pillowcases. Different cologne, different deodorant. I may be boring, but I'm not stupid." Janet cleared her throat. "Mr. Carter is seeking an equitable division of assets, with the exception of the house, which he wishes to retain, and spousal support, which he is waiving." "The house?" Veronica's voice cracked. "Ben, you can't take the house. I designed every room. It's my portfolio, my—" "Your what? Your love nest?" I leaned forward. "Tell me, how many of your design consultations with Liam happened in our living room?" Peterson whispered urgently to Veronica again. She was crying now, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. "I lost 3 more clients this week," she said between tears. "The Hendersons, the Patels, and the Johnsons. They all said they wanted to work with someone more stable for their family homes." I felt that flicker of guilt again, but pushed it down. "Actions have consequences, Veronica. You taught me that." "Your Instagram posts are ruining my business." "My Instagram posts are just showing people who I really am. If that's ruining your business, maybe the problem isn't the posts." Janet shuffled her papers. "We can schedule another meeting next week to finalize the details. In the meantime, I suggest you both consider what you really want out of this process." As we left the office, Veronica grabbed my arm in the parking garage. "Ben, please. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But 8 years of marriage has to count for something." I looked down at her hand on my arm, then back at her face. For 8 years, I'd loved this woman. I'd supported her dreams, celebrated her successes, comforted her through her failures, and she'd thrown it all away for a guy who wore too much cologne and drove a Porsche. "You're right," I said. 8 years should count for something. That's why this hurts so much." I gently removed her hand from my arm and walked to my car. As I drove away, I could see her in my rearview mirror, standing alone under the fluorescent parking garage lights, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. But when I got home, I found my car had been vandalized. Someone had keyed "cheater" into the driver's side door and slashed 2 of my tires. I knew exactly who had done it, and I knew exactly how to respond. My next Instagram post was a photo of the damage with the caption, "Apparently someone doesn't understand the definition of cheater." For the record, posting about your actual single life isn't cheating. Having a secret Instagram while married and sleeping with someone else? That's cheating. The police report has been filed. The post went viral in our social circle within hours. Everyone knew who had vandalized my car, and everyone knew why. The sympathy was overwhelmingly on my side, but I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Liam Drake's silver Porsche 911 was his pride and joy, parked in the same spot every night in the underground garage of his luxury condo building. I'd been watching his social media posts. The man couldn't take a selfie without his car in the background, and I knew his routine better than he did. Tuesday nights, he hit the gym. Wednesday nights, drinks with his business partner. Thursday nights were reserved for his married designer, though those had become less frequent since Veronica's world started imploding. I chose a Thursday night, figuring he'd be home early and frustrated. Sid had reluctantly agreed to be my lookout, though he'd made it clear he thought I was losing my mind. "Ben, this is crazy," he whispered into his phone as I crept through the parking garage. "You're going to get arrested." "Only if I get caught," I replied, pulling on latex gloves. "Besides, what's he going to do? Call the police and explain why someone might want to vandalize his car?" The pink decal I'd had custom made was a work of art. "Adulterer" in bold, glittery letters, sized perfectly to stretch across the Porsche's hood. But that was just the beginning. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment. The shrimp shells came from every seafood restaurant in the city. I'd been collecting them in my freezer for a month. Into the air vents they went, along with a few drops of fish oil for good measure. The smell would be memorable. The fake parking ticket was my masterpiece. Violation, excessive douchebaggery. Fine. 1 ruined marriage and public humiliation. Have a nice day. I tucked it under his windshield wiper and stepped back to admire my work. The pink glitter caught the fluorescent lights beautifully. "Sid, I'm done. Meet me at Murphy's bar across the street. I want to watch the show." Murphy's had a perfect view of the parking garage entrance, and the bartender, Tommy, was an old friend who didn't ask questions when I requested a table by the window with a clear sightline to the street. I didn't have to wait long. At 9:47 p.m., Liam Drake emerged from his building, gym bag slung over his shoulder, already pulling out his phone to take his nightly, just finished crushing it at the gym selfie. The scream that echoed through the parking garage was audible even from across the street. "What the hell?" Through the window, I could see him running around his car, trying to peel off the decal with his bare hands. The glue was industrial strength. It wasn't going anywhere without a heat gun and a lot of patience. Then he opened the driver's door. The smell hit him like a physical force. He stumbled backward, gagging, as the weeks-old shrimp shells tumbled out of the air vents. In his panic to get away from the stench, he slipped on the shells scattered across the garage floor, landing hard on his designer-clad ass. That's when Mrs. Patterson from 4B walked by with her little dog, saw the commotion, and decided to film it on her phone. Within minutes, the video was uploaded to the building's Facebook group with the caption, "Anyone know why this man is screaming about shrimp in the parking garage?" By morning, the video had been shared 47 times and had over 200 comments. Someone had identified Liam and connected him to the recent drama surrounding that interior designer who was cheating on her husband. The internet detectives were having a field day. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Veronica's name flashed on the screen. "Ben, what did you do?" "Good morning to you too, honey. I'm having coffee and reading the news. Apparently someone had a rough night in a parking garage. Tragic, really." "This isn't funny. Liam thinks you vandalized his car." "Did he file a police report?" Silence. "That's what I thought. Hard to explain to the police why someone might want to target you without admitting you've been sleeping with a married woman." "Ben, please. This has gone too far. I'm losing everything. My business, my friends, my reputation. Isn't that enough?" I looked out my kitchen window at my own car, still bearing the cheater scratches on the side. "No," I said quietly. "It's not." That afternoon, I posted a new photo. Me at the farmer's market again, this time with a bag full of fresh shrimp and the caption, "Cooking seafood tonight. There's something satisfying about the smell of shrimp. Some people love it, others find it overwhelming. Depends on your taste, I guess." The comments section exploded with people who'd seen the parking garage video. The connection was obvious, and the support for my creative justice was overwhelming. But the best part came that evening, when Chelsea called Veronica, a conversation I could hear through our thin bedroom walls. "V, I have to tell you something about Liam." "What now?" "Madison saw him at Rosario's last night, with Jessica Chen. You know, the real estate agent with the fake boobs. They looked close." The sound that came from Veronica's throat was somewhere between a sob and a scream. Her perfect world wasn't just crumbling, it was being systematically demolished by the very people she'd trusted. And I was just getting started. The City Design Expo was Veronica's Super Bowl, her chance to network with potential clients and show off her portfolio to the city's elite. She'd been planning her presentation for months before our marriage imploded, and despite everything, she was still scheduled to present her work on the main stage. I bought a ticket. Sid thought I'd completely lost my mind. "Ben, this is stalking behavior. You're going to get a restraining order slapped on you." I'm attending a public event in my own city, I replied, adjusting my new tie, part of the wardrobe upgrade that had been getting me so much positive attention. Besides, I want to support local interior design. I might need to redecorate soon. The expo was held at the convention center, a massive space filled with booths showcasing everything from sustainable furniture to smart home technology. Veronica's booth was in the premium section, decorated with photos of her best work, including several rooms from our house that I'd be keeping in the divorce. She looked beautiful, but brittle, like expensive glass that might shatter at any moment. Her smile was too bright, her laugh too loud, and I could see the tremor in her hands as she shook hands with potential clients. "Mrs. Carter," I heard one woman say, "I love your aesthetic, but I have to ask, there have been some rumors about your personal life. We're a very traditional family, and we prefer to work with designers who share our values." Veronica's face went pale. "I assure you, Mrs. Henderson, my personal life has no bearing on my professional work." "Of course not, dear. But in today's social media world, everything is connected, isn't it? We'll be in touch." They wouldn't be in touch. I could see it in Mrs. Henderson's eyes as she walked away. But the real show was about to begin. Sid had been reluctant to help with this part of my plan, but his expertise in IT security had made it possible. The convention center's digital display system wasn't exactly Fort Knox. A few strategic passwords and some social engineering had given us administrative access. At 2 p.m., just as Veronica took the stage for her presentation, the large screens throughout the expo flickered and changed. Instead of her carefully curated portfolio, the screens now showed screenshots of the V Uncaged Instagram account. Every thirst trap photo, every unattached and seeking fun caption, every comment from men who clearly thought she was single and available. The audience murmured in confusion, then recognition, then shock. But I wasn't done. The audio system crackled to life, and Liam's voice filled the convention center. "Dude, you should see this married chick I've been nailing. Interior designer, total MILF, wild in bed. Husband's some boring accountant type who doesn't appreciate what he's got." The reaction was immediate and devastating. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Phones came out to record the chaos. Veronica stood frozen on stage, her microphone still in her hand, her face a mask of horror. "She's got this secret Instagram where she posts these hot photos," Liam's voice continued. "Calls herself V Uncaged. Says she's done settling for mediocrity." Someone in the audience shouted, "That's her. That's V Uncaged." The crowd turned to stare at Veronica, who finally found her voice. This is a mistake. Someone's sabotaging." But her words were drowned out by the murmur of the crowd and the continued audio of Liam describing their affair in graphic detail. That's when Liam himself appeared, pushing through the crowd toward the stage. His face was red with rage, and he was looking directly at me. "You snake!" he shouted, lunging toward me. I'd been expecting this. Months of working out, and the adrenaline of the moment gave me reflexes I didn't know I had. I sidestepped his charge, grabbed his wrist, and used his own momentum to flip him over a nearby display table. He landed hard among scattered brochures for sustainable bamboo flooring, and the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. "Security!" someone called, but the damage was done. Liam scrambled to his feet, his designer shirt torn, his perfect hair disheveled. "This is assault. I'm calling the police." "Please do," I said calmly, straightening my tie. "I'm sure they'd love to hear that audio recording in its entirety, especially the part where you describe breaking up a marriage." He hesitated, realizing the implications, then turned and fled through the crowd. On stage, Veronica had collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Her business partners were frantically trying to shut down the display, but the damage was done. Every phone in the audience had captured the moment, and the videos were already being uploaded to social media. I walked calmly to the exit, but not before stopping at the registration desk. "Excuse me," I said to the young woman manning the booth. "I'd like to register for next year's expo. I'm thinking about getting into interior design myself. Seems like there might be an opening in the market." She stared at me with wide eyes, recognizing me from the chaos that had just unfolded. I'll get you the forms," she stammered. As I left the convention center, I could hear the crowd still buzzing with excitement. The 2023 City Design Expo would be remembered for years to come, but not for the reasons Veronica had hoped. My phone was already buzzing with notifications. The videos were going viral, the comments were pouring in, and my own social media following was exploding. But this was just the opening act. The real finale was still to come. The rooftop of my new apartment building had been a selling point when I'd signed the lease. 23rd floor, panoramic views of the city, perfect for entertaining. I'd never expected to use it for what I had planned tonight. The weather was cooperating, dark clouds rolling in, The promise of rain in the air, dramatic lighting courtesy of Mother Nature. I'd invited everyone, mutual friends, former colleagues, even some of Veronica's ex-clients who'd been following the drama on social media. The invitation had been simple. Ben's new beginning party. Come see what authentic living looks like. What they didn't know was that I'd also set up a live stream. Multiple cameras, professional lighting, and a direct feed to Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Whatever happened tonight would be witnessed by hundreds of people in real time. Sid arrived early, still trying to talk me out of whatever I had planned. Ben, this feels like a trap. What if they don't show up? Oh, they'll show up, I said, adjusting one of the cameras. Veronica can't resist a public scene, and Liam's too proud to let me have the last word. They'll come. The guests started arriving at 7. Former colleagues who'd only known me as Veronica's quiet husband were surprised to find me confident, well-dressed, and genuinely happy. The transformation was so complete that several people asked if I'd been working with a life coach. Just learned to value myself, I replied, raising a glass of expensive whiskey. Amazing what happens when you stop letting other people define your worth. By 8 o'clock, the rooftop was packed. The live stream had over 300 viewers and climbing. The comments were supportive, curious, and occasionally brutal toward Veronica and Liam. That's when they arrived. Veronica appeared first, stepping out of the elevator like she was walking into battle. She'd dressed for war. Her most expensive dress, perfect makeup, every piece of jewelry I'd ever bought her. But I could see the cracks in her armor, the slight tremor in her hands, the way her eyes darted around the crowd, the forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Liam was right behind her, and he looked like hell. The parking garage incident had clearly taken its toll. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, there were dark circles under his eyes, and his clothes looked like he'd slept in them. The crowd parted as they approached me, and I could feel the tension crackling in the air like electricity before a storm. Ben, Veronica said, her voice artificially sweet. What a lovely party. So nice to see you. Celebrating. Thank you for coming, I replied, gesturing to the cameras. I thought it was important for everyone to see how this story ends. That's when she noticed the live stream setup, and her face went white. Turn off the cameras, Ben. We need to talk privately. I don't think so. See, privacy is what got us into this mess. All those secret Instagram accounts, private conversations, hidden affairs. I think it's time for some transparency. Liam stepped forward, his chest puffed out in a pathetic display of dominance. You think you're so smart, don't you? Humiliating us, destroying Veronica's business, making us look like fools. I didn't make you look like anything, I said calmly. I just showed people who you really are. There's a difference. You recorded a private conversation in a public locker room, perfectly legal. I smiled. Unlike vandalism, which is what you did to my car. The crowd was eating it up. Phones were out, recording from every angle. The live stream comments were scrolling by so fast I couldn't read them all. Ben, please, Veronica tried again, stepping closer. Turn off the cameras and let's talk like adults. We can work this out. Work what out exactly? Your affair? Your secret Instagram? The way you and your friends spent years making me feel worthless? I never meant... Yes, you did. My voice was steady, controlled, but loud enough for everyone to hear. You meant every insult, every eye roll, every time you made me feel like I wasn't good enough for you. You meant it when you decided I was so insignificant that you could cheat on me and advertise yourself as single without consequences. The first drops of rain began to fall, and the crowd instinctively moved closer to the covered areas of the rooftop. But nobody left. This was better than reality TV. You want to know what's funny? I continued, addressing not just Veronica and Liam, but the crowd and the live stream audience. I actually thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was boring, unattractive, not worth loving. But it turns out, when you're not constantly being torn down by someone who's supposed to support you, you discover you're actually pretty great. The crowd murmured agreement. Several people called out support. Ben's right, shouted Jessica, one of our former mutual friends. You treated him like garbage, Veronica. We all saw it, added Marcus, my former neighbor. You were horrible to him. Liam, apparently deciding that physical intimidation was his only remaining option, stepped closer and grabbed my shirt. Enough of this shit, he snarled. You're going to take down those posts, delete those recordings, and stop making our lives hell, or... Or what? I asked calmly. He raised his fist, and that's when everything went perfectly according to plan. I ducked under his swing, grabbed his wrist, and used the same move I'd used at the expo to flip him over the rooftop's decorative planter. He landed hard on the wet concrete, his expensive shoes slipping on the rain-slicked surface. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. The live stream comments were going crazy. and Liam, soaked and humiliated, scrambled to his feet with murder in his eyes. "You snake!" he screamed, charging at me again. This time I was ready. I stepped aside, stuck out my foot, and watched him slide face first into a catering table loaded with appetizers. The crowd was losing their minds. People were chanting my name. The live stream had over 1,000 viewers now, and the comments were overwhelmingly supportive. Ben, Ben, Ben. Veronica, seeing her lover humiliated and her last chance at dignity slipping away, made one final desperate play. "You think you've won?" she screamed over the crowd in the increasing rain. "You think destroying my life makes you some kind of hero? You're pathetic. You were always pathetic. A boring, mediocre man who couldn't satisfy his own wife." The crowd went silent. The rain was falling harder now, soaking everyone on the rooftop, but nobody moved. I looked at her, really looked at her, for what I knew would be the last time. She was still beautiful, even soaked and desperate. But I could see her clearly now, maybe for the first time ever. "You're right about one thing," I said, my voice carrying clearly in the sudden quiet. "I couldn't satisfy you, because you're unsatisfiable. You're a black hole of need and insecurity that no amount of love, support, or sacrifice could ever fill. I spent 8 years trying to be enough for you, and all it got me was smaller and smaller until I almost disappeared completely." I gestured to the crowd, to the cameras, to the city spread out below us. "But look around, Veronica. Look at all these people cheering for the boring, mediocre man. Look at the 1,000 people watching this live stream, supporting me, celebrating with me. Maybe the problem was never me, maybe the problem was you." That's when the police arrived. Someone had called about a disturbance, and 2 officers appeared at the rooftop entrance, taking in the scene. A soaked crowd, overturned furniture, Liam covered in cocktail sauce and hummus, and Veronica sobbing in the rain. "What's going on here?" the older officer asked. "Just a party, officer," I replied calmly. "Though I believe these 2 individuals are trespassing, they weren't invited, and they've been causing a disturbance." The crowd immediately backed me up, confirming that Liam had tried to start a fight, and that both he and Veronica had been asked to leave. "Is this true?" the officer asked Veronica. She looked around desperately, searching for support that wasn't there. Her former friends in the crowd avoided eye contact. Even Chelsea, who had arrived fashionably late, was filming with her phone instead of defending her. "We just wanted to talk," Veronica said weakly. "On a private rooftop, uninvited, while threatening the host?" The officer shook his head. "I think it's time for you both to leave." As the police escorted Veronica and Liam to the elevator, the crowd erupted in cheers again. The livestream comments were scrolling by in a blur of support, congratulations, and requests for updates on the divorce proceedings. I walked to the edge of the rooftop, looking out over the city lights blurred by rain, and raised my glass of whiskey. "To new beginnings," I called out. "To new beginnings," the crowd responded. The livestream ended with over 1,500 viewers, 3,000 comments, and more social media followers than I knew what to do with. But more importantly, it ended with me standing victorious, surrounded by people who actually appreciated me, while the rain washed away the last remnants of my old life. Turns out revenge really is a dish best served live streamed.